we're excited to have Ashley Crandall on tonight. So we'd like to get started, get through the intros, and then get right into the topic. Like I said, there'll be probably some other individuals hopping on, and some individuals may hop off. We do this on our own time, so we're always battling the demanding schedules that all of us have. Those of us that are in the workforce, those of us that are still on active duty and in transition, we're all spinning multiple plates. So appreciate everybody that carved out time to be here. Particularly Ashley, appreciate you giving up your time to come in and contribute. So I'll just kind of do the normal intro. And again, thank everybody for being here. Up front, just want to say, as I always do, this is not, this IDP resource at the time. We're still in that transition phase where we're moving from, what we had previously established as the virtual happy hour and information sharing. And we're still in the conversion process to fully moving over to Project Strive, the nonprofit organization. But as we always say, this is not intended for business development or recruiting or anything. As many of you know who have been participating in this for a while, this is an environment, like-minded individuals going through the same processes and sharing the same experiences and providing resources. We're really, fortunate to have a lot of contributors that come on and cover topics that we all need help with in our transition and post-transition. Everybody that's participating, everybody that contributes, and everybody that facilitates is doing so on their own time and volunteering. So, that's a big commitment and a big contribution. So I want to, acknowledge that and thank everybody. As I stated, just for clarity one more time, we are recording. We use Read AI to record, and then we do some editing, and we will post on LinkedIn, and we will post on our YouTube channel. We also have the Discord server for communication. So, however many people dial in tonight, that's the direct audience, but we also have individuals that check out our YouTube page. And so I encourage everybody, reminder that it's recorded. As we go through the topics and everything, if it gets personal, you want to take things offline, that's fine. Just remember that it is being recorded and it will be shared. And so I encourage everybody to also, remember, we're going to distribute the link directly to our distribution list, which is now over 65 recipients. And then we encourage everyone to share with anyone else you think that might benefit. We are not shy about sharing the links, sharing the information, and encouraging others to participate and others to join. The information is probably going to be very valuable. So if you walk away and you're like, man, I know somebody else that could really use this. If you have trouble navigating links, just hit up me or Abigail. And we can help you, get the information to share with other individuals. So, Abigail, is there anything else that we normally cover up front, or any other admin items that you want to get into before I introduce our guest speaker?
Nope, you covered everything. But if anybody does request, I can copy and paste those links into the group chat here. If anybody's interested. And then also I want to say, Ashley, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time and effort putting into the PowerPoint that you're about to share with us. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and as always, I'd like to acknowledge that Abigail behind the scenes does most of the work to facilitate this and keep the engine running. She schedules our monthly calls, coordinates with our guest speakers. She made the connection with Ashley. So Abigail, thanks for all your work. And thanks for getting us another great guest speaker this week, or this month. So again, Ashley's been chatting with us here a little bit before we get started. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a bio, and then Ashley, you can cover anything else that you want to before you get into your material. But Ashley Crandall, she earned her bachelor's of science in psychology from Fairmont State University. And she also holds a dual master's degree in clinical rehabilitation of mental health counseling from West Virginia, where she currently resides. She's entering her 11th year as a vocational rehabilitation counselor. And she spent the last 5 years specializing in working with veterans. So, Ashley, not only thank you for being on, but thank you for the great work that you're doing with veterans. Obviously this, that's our audience, and that's kind of the purpose and the driving force behind Project Strive and the virtual happy hours, is helping veterans not only navigate transition, but assimilate into the new workforce or whatever their life might be after service. Some of the individuals that participate in these calls and get the information, they're very early in their transition process and they're still on active duty and they're trying to prepare for the workforce. Some of us have been out for a while and we're still trying to get that edge and, continue to enhance, our social media profile and other ways to, continue to advance in the workforce on the other side. So thanks for all the work that you've done with veterans. And just want to highlight, in addition to working with veterans, Ashley has a history of working with individuals with disabilities, supporting high school students with IEPs. And so you can tell that she's got a passion for helping those that need it. So Ashley, again, thanks for all that you've done. And we're really excited to have you share some information and maybe even give some of us some personal tips on our own LinkedIn profiles. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Ashley. And thank you.
All right, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and I'm going to slide over to my PowerPoint. So now that I'm on my PowerPoint, I can't see you guys. So if anything happens to it, just give me a shout out and I will make sure that we can get that underway. So I came here tonight to talk to you guys about some LinkedIn profiles. It's really important to network, and we'll just jump right into this. Please interrupt me with questions, with comments, anything like that. The more interactive, the better for me, okay? I don't want to just be reading right off my screen to you guys. All right, so first off, what exactly is networking? Well, networking is talking with people who will learn about you and your interests and then help you to gain insight into your career options and goals. So networking is definitely a two-way process, right? Not just you, it involves everybody else. And it can help you develop and maintain connections with individuals that will mutually benefit from the relationship. It's an ongoing process that takes time and attention, and it's not something that you only need to do when you're actively looking for a job, right? We're constantly networking, and sometimes we don't even realize it. This is a great example of networking, right? Abby came into my office one day just kind of asking questions like, hey, who should I talk to? Well, guess what? It was me. So perfect example there. So just to continue on, successful networking requires preparation and practice. Networking can be done in person and online, and that's what we're going to focus on today, is really talking about some of that online networking where we can network with people that are outside of our immediate circle. So remember that when you're networking, you're asking for information and advice, not necessarily a job. It's not just what you know, it's who you know and who you can connect to. Why is networking important? Well, networking will be the single most effective method of advancing your career. While you're networking, you may not get a job, but it does play a role in the majority of your hiring decisions. Many job vacancies are never even advertised. They're usually just filled with some form of personal or professional references, right? Employers will obviously always hire a candidate that they have either met before or they were referred by a trusted source. So, what is LinkedIn then? LinkedIn is the largest online professional networking platform. It hosts profile of more than 500 million people in over 200 countries. It serves as both a recruiting tool for employers and a job search tool for users. So both sides are on here and we're all networking together. So some of the features and benefits of LinkedIn are pretty unique compared to any other social media. LinkedIn is essentially your living resume. So you're establishing a professional profile and you have the ability to control one of the top searches for your name. So one of the things that we get warned about pretty much, from kindergarten on is whatever you put on the internet is out there permanently, right? So when someone Googles your name, you want to make sure that you are trying to contribute to get the best search results possible. So you can also build and maintain your professional network. You can find and reconnect with colleagues and classmates. You can learn about other companies and gain industry insights. You can find other professionals in the same industry using the groups. We're going to talk more about the groups later in this presentation. You can share your thoughts and your insights through LinkedIn's long form publishing format. You can also tap into the knowledge for your network and discover new career opportunities by searching for jobs. So there's lots of things that LinkedIn can offer to us. So steps in profile development, super easy, right? To sign up, all you need is your name, your email, and a password. Also even offers you the option to sign right in through Facebook. Haven't been on for a while as far as like creating a new profile, but I'm pretty sure you could probably also just sign in through your Apple account or what other options are pretty typical. You want to add your location information. You can add a profile picture. Your background image is optional. Background image is like your the little bar on top of your Facebook. I can't think of what that's called right off the top of my head, but you have that option to kind of add more individualism to your profile. You create your headline, you write your summary statement, and then you complete other key sections such as showcasing your unique professional story through your experiences, skills, and your education. So here's just a little cartoon that I found online. It gives you 15 really quick steps to set up your profile, right? You're going to set your intention on exactly what you want out of LinkedIn. Create the account, add the professional profile picture, choose a compelling cover photo, write a powerful headline, write your summary that showcases your skills, list your experiences, highlight your education and your certifications. You can also get endorsements from other people in your network. So when you go to your profile and look, you can see where other people will endorse you. So the more that you network, the more people will endorse you. So when someone goes to your profile, they'll say, oh, look, this guy's been endorsed by 50 other counselors in his region, so he might be good. You can also customize your LinkedIn URL, so it's easy to hand out. Just find me at www.linkedin.com/Ashley Crandall. You can connect with other professionals in your industry, participate in groups, use recommendations from colleagues to highlight your skills, share content consistently, and then, of course, complete your profile and update it regularly. So, all right, here's some profile photo tips, right? Now, this is just a photo I pulled off of Google, just so you know, this is nobody that I know. But according to LinkedIn, profiles that have their photo on it receive 21 times more views and 9 times more connection requests. Whenever you have a LinkedIn, you can get almost like friend requests, right? But they're called connection requests. The amount of connection requests that I get daily on there of people that I actually don't particularly know is very often. But then once they show up on my news feed, I see why that we're connected, right? And it gives me the opportunity to kind of reach out to them, start to read their content, make some comments on it, things like that. The professional headshot is best, right? Minimal distraction. And then you want to remember that you want to portray yourself the way you want to be seen by your intended audience. Okay, profile content tips. The first hurdle is to get found, right? So you want to make sure that your profile is coming up with the type of searches you want. So if you're looking for a job, let's say, in the data analysis industry, if someone were to go in there and type in West Virginia data analysis, I want my profile to pop up, right? So I want to make sure that I'm using all kinds of keywords and industry relevant job titles so that I can pop up in those searches. So once you identify your top keywords, you want to add as many of them throughout your profile as possible, right? You want to use them in your headline, your current job title, your summaries, your interests. And the cool thing about LinkedIn is that the search tool will search your entire profile. So you don't have to try to cram all these words in places that it doesn't really make sense in. So just, casually put them in there throughout the entire profile where they fit. And the LinkedIn search tool will actually be able to pull it up regardless of where it's at. Does anyone have any questions or anything yet? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow?
No, I think the pace is good. I think you're covering a lot of good content so far. Just a couple things that stood out. When you talk about networking and preparation and practice, and then tying it into LinkedIn, one of the common practices that we try to utilize is like there's this LinkedIn networking, but then there's also in-person networking, but tying the two together. A recent example is we went to an event in Washington, D.C., and we used LinkedIn to get information on who was going to be attending, and then use LinkedIn to kind of connect with them and pre-network, so that when we went to see them in person, we already had like a connection with them, and it wasn't like a cold walk up to somebody and try to start a conversation. So tying together the networking and joining the communities and following the right pages builds that opportunity to network. So I just was curious if you had any tips on, like selecting and choosing groups to follow and things like that, and how or if there are commonly overlooked groups and networks that individuals can follow. There's like obvious things that you should join in your professional community. Like you as a counselor, you probably belong. And like as most of us on this call are defense financial managers or defense lawyers, we're heavy on the defense sector things, but just finding other ways to connect outside of, valuable places to connect outside of your chosen discipline.
Right. No, that absolutely makes sense. And the biggest tip that I really would have is be open-minded, because when you're looking for some of these industry terms, when you search them up, sometimes, you'll see a group there and you're like, I don't really know if I fit into that one or not. Join it. Because, worst case scenario is when you're scrolling through your feed, you just hop over those ones. But I've been pleasantly surprised by some groups that I've joined on there, because at first I was a little bit hesitant, because I was like, I don't really know if I'll fit in with these. I don't know if this is what I'm looking for. But then you find out that, maybe it's not what you were looking for, but it's definitely a good path to go down, and it's definitely, something that could open some doors for you in the future.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do like your example about, you kind of met these people and you were able to kind of meet them online, but then brought it into real life, right? So then you were able to actually meet up in person, and I'm sure that it was a different experience than if you were to just walk up to them cold call basically in person. So definitely open up some doors.
Like a standard practice when we know we have these large events. We try to make it we've learned to try to make it a standard practice for us to kind of do that pre-networking, and LinkedIn is an invaluable tool for that. So.
Absolutely. Then we'll just move right on here. And again, like I said, please jump in if you have any questions or just any comments or anything. But so this one's talking about your headline. So we have two examples here on the side, and they look pretty different, right? So the first one, it just says career coach, success strategist, putting your strengths to work for you. So this lady, her goal seems to be a little bit different than the second lady, right? Hers is straightforward. Looks like she's really trying to gain maybe some clients, right? So she's telling you exactly what she does and what she can do for you. Now, the second lady kind of just really describes what she's doing more so to maybe be networking within her area here. So she's a marketing consultant. She's helping individual financial advisors grow assets under management at Indigo marketing agencies, right? So both are very appropriate. Both are completely fine. There's no wrong way to write your headline. You just have to figure out exactly what your goals on LinkedIn are. So we'll use you guys for an example. One of your main goals may be to be trying to network to get people to come onto these meetings. So you can figure out a perfect way to really put that into words and kind of highlight that on your headline here. So again, this is a great place to show exactly what makes you unique, and you can use as many keywords as possible. As you can see, the lady definitely on the bottom is using a lot more keywords than the lady on the top. All right, so our summary statement. This is the main place for you to stand out, right? So your summary statement can add your story element to your experience and your aspirations. So you want to be concise about your experience, your qualifications, and your goals, right? But you want to be able to kind of weave in your compelling narrative throughout. So you want to talk about what really motivates you, what work you've done, and what you are skilled at. So again, you'll hear me say this a million times. You'll want to use your keywords and your phrases that recruiters might be searching for, right? So you might use words like product management, graphic design, data analysis, things like that. Your experience section is next. So this is where you really showcase exactly what you've done work-wise. But you do want to make sure that you're not listing only your duties and your responsibilities, right? This is a live action resume, so it'll be a lot more personalized than what your actual resume that you're turning in for job applications will look like. You'll definitely want to use your action words and your accomplishments, right? And you also don't forget to list your volunteer work too. Experience doesn't necessarily just mean paid experience. Experience is anything that helped you gain some skills. So that could be volunteer work, that could be part-time work, that could be full-time work. Pretty much anything that you can take your transferable skills and apply it to. Okay, the next section is your skills section. You'll want to list your tangible skills that you're comfortable using in the workplace, right? They say this with your resume. We're going to say it with LinkedIn too. You want to make sure that you can talk to the things that you write down. If you list a bunch of objectives in your resume and then you're in an interview and they ask you about it and you're kind of like, I don't really know what that means, that's a problem. So you want to make sure that you're listing skills that you can talk to, that you're comfortable really putting into action. These skills can be acquired on the job or in school. And a study said that 17% more profile views if you list at least 5 skills. 5 skills is crazy easy to accomplish. The more, the better, right? They even actually have a section where they'll list a lot of common skills and you can check mark them down, and then you can type in additional skills. All right, so here's some general tips. You want to complete your profile in full, right? You don't want to leave a half completed profile. You wouldn't turn in a half completed resume. You want to claim your unique URL. Again, it's so much easier to hand out while you're networking. Hey, why don't you add me on LinkedIn? You can find all of our events on there. Here's my URL. You want to participate in groups. My next slide is going into a little bit more detail exactly what those groups mean. You want to connect with people you know. You want to connect with people you don't know. Use the alumni tool to kind of find people who have worked the same places that you've worked, have went to the same schools that you've went to, have went to the same events that you have. And then, of course, you want to actively update your profile. You want to keep it changing as you're changing and just keep it completely up to date so that it makes networking a lot easier. So what do we mean by participating in groups? So LinkedIn has these hubs called groups, where it's a place for professionals in the same industry or with similar interests to share content, find answers, post and view jobs, make business contacts, and establish themselves as industry experts, right? So if anyone here has a Facebook, you know that there's a million different types of Facebook groups that you can join. It's basically the same thing, but instead of sharing memes, you're sharing some industry content. And then you'll want to be an active member in these groups. It can help you network with other professionals in your field, especially those outside our immediate circle, right? We get comfortable networking with the ones closest around us that we're constantly working with on a regular basis. But this will help you kind of grow. I've networked with people outside of state. I've networked with people that I didn't know were in my neighborhood. So it's a great place to meet people. And then here's some final words for you. You want to browse job descriptions, right? That'll give you an idea of new keywords to use in your own profile, new keywords to search to find different groups. You want to set up job alerts if there's something that comes up that could ping off of your resume that you may be interested in. It will send you an email straight to you. And then, of course, you want to follow things like companies, influencers, and all kinds of industry resources that help you to keep up on new trends and the latest news. I do have a final slide here that does kind of talk about premium services. LinkedIn is completely free. However, just like everything else, you can upgrade and get their premium services. To be truthful, I'm not sure if this is still completely up to date. I haven't updated this in a couple months, maybe roughly 6 months, but it used to be $39.99 a month. With that price, you can see who's viewed your profile in the last 90 days. You can send 5 in-mails a month, which is private messages. You're unable to send private messages on the free one. You can get job application and job and application insight, so it'll give you a professional rating, basically. You can see top applicant job recommendations, company and salary insights, and then you have access to 16,000 plus learning courses. I do know a lot of people who do the premium one mainly for the learning courses, right? It's a great thing to, again, slap right on your resume. Then it also gives you full access to interview preparation tools. So I hope I walked you through that, and it seemed simple enough. Is there any questions or anything? Comments?
Anybody else got any questions or comments? I got a couple.
I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Ashley. Or Abigail, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to say, like, when you're exiting the military, you go through something called TRS. It's a transition readiness seminar, and they teach you for 5 days about various topics. And LinkedIn is a quick topic, but they do teach you on it briefly. And I just remember them telling us to keep all descriptions very brief. Any bios, anything like that, very brief. And I just think you kind of explained it in a way that I could add more information on there and kind of be okay. I mean, at the same time, you're exiting the military and they're telling you one thing and you want to listen to that, right? But I feel like we could make our profiles pretty descriptive.
I mean, and again, I don't want to go against what you said. I don't want to go against anything that is being taught elsewhere. But I do agree with making it more descriptive. I did have a plan to actually bring up my LinkedIn profile to share it with you guys, but I had to use my personal computer instead of my work computer. It doesn't know how to act when it comes off the dock, apparently. So I wasn't able to get it up and running. So my LinkedIn profile's matched to my federal my federal PIV card instead, so I'm unable to get it up on here. I may be able to search it, but when you go through mine, I mean, it's very personal. It's got everything. It's got every job I've ever had. It's got all my education. It's got all my certifications. It's got a picture of me. So, because I mean, for a job, how personal can you get, right? I mean, you're
Right.
not going to be sharing too many personal details about your life that's not professional. The more information you put on there, the more that you'll come up in a search. And again, like we talked about earlier, if you can control what's coming up when someone Googles you, the better off you'll be, because the first thing an employer is going to do is they're going to try to Google you. They're going to try to look you up on Facebook. They're going to try to get a peek inside your life. And what better way to let them do that than a professional profile online?
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
First, Ashley, thank you very much. I guess two easy ones and a somewhat hard one. First one, do you have any tips on headshots for your LinkedIn profile, stuff like that?
So I think the best tip is to get in front of a plain wall. Maybe even just, sometimes if you have a little curtain to put up or something, make sure that, the lighting is there, but the lighting's not too bright. You just want, shoulders up. You don't have to pay anyone to give you a professional headshot. Totally capable to do it on your cell phone, selfie style. But you'll just want to make sure you look as professional as possible. The less that's in the background that can be distracting from you. You want to make sure that you're clean, clean cut, however you like to present yourself. And again, that can be personal to you, right? Some guys would prefer a completely clean shave. Some guys like to just tidy up their beard. Totally up to you. But just less distracting. I would say definitely shoulders up. You don't really need a full body picture in there.
Great. My second one, and this may be for the group, I vaguely remember some LinkedIn classes being massive open classes or something like that. Does anybody remember whether it was through the VA or if anybody has a tip on that one, but I'll put that one open to the group.
The VA does do a lot of LinkedIn. That's actually where my LinkedIn profile comes from. Once you get on their network with a PIV card, they automatically create you a LinkedIn account. Because when I first started, I was not on LinkedIn.
And I guess the last one here, and I'm not trying to be, hey, I'm so awesome. I was just listening to a long podcast on Bloomberg. Any concerns about like government affiliation and like sensitivity of that and things like that? I guess the Eastern European looking woman that's way out of my league who tries to connect with me on LinkedIn, I know to give the old thank you for, but other tips, and I'm being a little over the top, but how to get rid of spam, not spam, but like the how to shape your profile to minimize the dumb stuff that can come your way.
Yeah. No.
So thank you very much.
And I will say from experience, the less active you are, it seems to be the more just anyone will try to connect with you and get into your profile. The more that I find that I'm active on my groups, and as life comes along, you're going to ebb and flow on that, right? That's just something natural that happens. Sometimes I'm probably too active on there, and then sometimes I've been, a ghost on there. But it does seem like the more that I'm active in these groups and that I'm interacting with people and I'm getting people to add me that I'm interacting with, the less that kind of goes away. Right. So it seems like when you're stagnant and sitting there, it almost seems like they kind of spam you a little bit to try to bring you back in. So I would say honestly, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, I think also too, like the more you affiliate with groups, the more focused your network connections and your recommended connections be, Jimmy. I've got the business page and I've got my personal page, and I say my business page is gets more spam because I get the like recruiters and the loans and the SEO people and this and that. But on my personal page, you know, I follow Marine Corps Systems Command, I follow DFAS, I follow this and that. Like, so my recommended connections are constantly people in those networks. So I think, you know, to your point, Ashley, like all social media, you know, the more you click, the more you follow, the more you like, the more the algorithm feeds who they try to connect you to. But, you know, I think there is some inevitability of the headhunters and the spammers, Jimmy, and, you know, I wish I could reduce that noise sometimes myself, but. All right, see Brandon had to drop. Does anybody else have anything, any other questions or information to share? So I just had a couple things to highlight and touch on. And Ashley, you know, again, thanks for the great information. It's very useful. Hopefully we can, you know, we'll talk offline and get in the slides and being able to show those to the group, or how we can publish, you know, what you're able to provide, you know, offline, individuals that reach out and see the video and say, hey, I'd like to follow up and get more information. So we can flush all that out. But I wanted to, you know, kind of go back to the beginning. And the target audience here is helping individuals that are transitioning, getting ready for their next career, or individuals that are already transitioned and you know, working on that next career, and kind of the emphasis on networking and using LinkedIn. And I want to say, you know, the earlier you start, the better. You know, one of the common things that I mentor, particularly individuals that are still serving, is like, you need to start networking now. And in all honesty, if you network properly, by the time you're ready to transition, your resume should be a formality. You should already have the job that you want lined up through networking and talking to individuals. And LinkedIn can really help with that. Being involved in groups, like you said, can really help with that. Getting involved in your professional organizations. You know, for us as financial managers, it's SDFM, the Society of Defense Financial Managers. And when I talked about how we utilize LinkedIn to help us make connections before going to that group, it was an SDFM event. But for us, we're starting to branch out into new networks, new organizations like Marine Corps Association and AFCEA, and other organizations that we find on LinkedIn. We're like, hey, that looks like a cool organization. Like, we join it on LinkedIn, we follow it, and then we look at when their events are going to be. But really the strength of networking, and kind of back to what you said, the preparation and the practice and a well-developed LinkedIn page, that all ties together. And it can really help you be ahead of the game when you do transition and have those opportunities that you mentioned before, Ashley. You have those opportunities already lined up, and you've already kind of had those informal interviews. So, you know, LinkedIn's a powerful tool to kind of make that happen. I did have some questions, and maybe if you know, because we've got a little bit extra time, if you don't mind, I'm going to share mine, and just also so we can kind of see some reference to a visual reference to some of those sections that you mentioned. And my questions are also going to be kind of on the business side, because like I mentioned, under my LinkedIn profile, then I've got, you know, my personal page, but then I also connect to Strive and I also connect to IDP. So, you know, there's kind of a different approach on the business side. So let me make sure I'm sharing, right? Everybody can see.
Yes.
Yeah, so just kind of when you go down, and I'm going to open myself up to criticism here too, Ashley. So if you see anything I need to fix, or if anybody sees anything, please jump in, you know. So, you know, this here is that banner you were talking about, you know, and you can choose to put something there, you know, because I'm an entrepreneur, I've got information to mention partners up there, right? Because for me, my LinkedIn page is sort of targeted at not only marketing myself, but marketing the company and recruiting. And, you know, so I have to appeal to potential clients, potential partners, potential candidates, and things like that. So, you know, I chose that. And like you said, I took this picture. I had somebody else take this, and I actually did this picture during TRS when they were giving us the LinkedIn. And so, you know, kept it professional. I was clean shaven then. So, yeah. But I probably, you know, admittedly have not updated this in quite a long time, and probably could use some work, you know, the generic label of financial management professional. But then when you get down here to the about, that's that summary statement you're referring to, right? This is
yes.
The about. Okay. Yeah. And so, yeah, mine's a little short, probably could use some work there, but this is where you kind of paint that, use those keywords that you referenced and such, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, and I won't bore everybody by going through my whole page, but that highlights the activity. This is, you mentioned the experience part. I'm probably underdeveloped there as well. And then education skills. And like you mentioned, I chose some of these off of those, like that drop down menu. So I wasn't making stuff up or trying to, it's actually really user friendly and intuitive to go through there and be like, oh yeah, those skills were all kind of already listed there and easy to choose from given the, the previous stuff that I had entered. And then, down here, the interest, you mentioned the groups, show some of the ones that I've joined. I follow a lot of companies, even there's newsletters you can join and interest in schools and things like that. So, but then, for like a less developed page, this is the Project Strive page. And we really haven't even got this up and running yet. So, when we go, you can see that we've got that. And then that's kind of at the far end of something that we really have to go in and get this up and running. And then somewhere in the middle is the Information Dimension Partners page. So all these are tied. And, Abigail does a great job with our Information Dimension Partners page. She uses that to post. Recently we attended the Marine Corps Association and sponsored an award. We do holiday posts. And this all increases the activity of the company. And this particularly to individuals like Lance and Jimmy, you guys have your own business. I don't know if you have a LinkedIn page up, but, and I'm showing this to just kind of, put a visual reference to it, Ashley, but also to kind of get to the question is, do you have, a lot of the tips you gave were for a personal page, someone who's trying to find a job or someone's trying to expand their network and advance their career, find a better job. Selfishly asking, do you have any thoughts on business pages where it's like a vetting tool? You meet someone in a network and you're like, hey, we'd like to work with you. I know when you leave those things, they check out two things. They check out your website and your LinkedIn page. So
yeah, no, and
question to say, like, any thoughts on business pages?
And really, I think it would be appropriate to use your business page almost the exact same way as you would your personal page, right? Mm-hmm. So you can get your business page out there onto groups. You can get your business page, to kind of start really putting out what the vision for your business is and kind of be able to set goals and try to rope people into helping you meet those. So really, honestly, with a business page, I'd say you want to split your time pretty evenly between working your personal page and working your business page.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And, Abigail, you got some work to do on our IDP page now that you've got all these great tips from Ashley. We're gonna have to go back and walk through her slideshow and see where we're lacking. I can see our overview, some things there. So
yeah. I was actually going to ask a question while you were looking at the IDP page. Ashley, what are your thoughts on posting? Like, the few posts that Jim showed, what are your thoughts on how often we should post or the types of posts? I mean, we do a lot of holiday posts. We do any major events, any events that we've attended, that Jim's attended. How descriptive should the posts be? Should they, be a little bit longer or a little bit shorter? And I know that we can see kind of like the data analytics on there as well, but I just kind of want to get your thoughts on
that. No, scrolling through that and looking at it, no, I think that looks great. I think it's very personable. I think that's probably the biggest key is that when people look at your page, especially that first one where it actually shows you guys at that event, that I think it kind of takes the mask off your business, right? So a lot of times when we're on different types of social media and we're seeing these businesses posting, we scroll right past them, right? Because we're thinking like, it doesn't really pertain to me. It's not personal to me. But the more that you kind of post and be able to really target the exact audience that you're looking for and really bring them in. And I think with a business page, especially the type that you guys are doing, kind of just reaching into, the values that they're holding, the values that your business is holding, they're going to align. So I think making sure that you just continue keeping it pretty personable would lead to a lot more success than if it kind of turns into a big business looking profile.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I'm so glad you guys invited me to this. I'll be more than glad to do any other topics that you'd be interested in the future if you ever need me again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'd love to have you back. We've got somewhat of a rotating curriculum, because as Abigail mentioned, a lot of us go through TRS, Transition Readiness Seminar. It's 5 days. And so we kind of model Strive as we're going to cover some of the topics they cover in those, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth because, 5 days is like a fire hose.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
One of our taglines for why we created Project Strive is the idea that to become the Marine that you're supposed to be, or the sailor or the soldier or the airman, the services will invest up to 18 months in your initial training, right? To indoctrinate you and train you and get you up to speed to be the Marine they need you to be. And whether you do 4 years or 25 years on the way out, it's the same 5-day class, right? So we recognize it's a little bit of an imbalance. And so that's why we started Strive. It was just a few of us that were going through the process, having these calls, and then more and more people started joining and showing interest. And so we were like, hey, we should try to pull together some resources and really dive into these topics. So, Ashley, this is very useful and we'd love to have you back. And then, most of our speakers come into the network, Jimmy and Lance are on the call now. Jimmy's still serving and Lance has recently transitioned and now supporting MCCS right out on the West Coast, and they're contributors as well. They spoke, a few months ago for their resources and FOIA and some other specialties. And, now they're back on and listening. And it's that continued networking. We've connected wellness coaches with, mental health professionals here on our team. So to your point of the networking and continuing to make those connections, that's one of the things that we're trying to provide. So, we'll work with you offline and get your information, share it with the group. And then, if there's other topics that you'd be able to cover and we'll bring you into the collaborative team, and happy to welcome you. And again, very grateful for your time, your expertise, and the information you shared.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we get a couple minutes back. If anybody has any other questions or information or anything, last save rounds or alibis for Ashley, now's the chance. All right. Hearing none. Go ahead, Abigail.
I would say everything that Jim said, but I couldn't have said it any better. I think the PowerPoint was spectacular and you're an excellent speaker. And I agree, we would love to have you back. So,
yeah. Well, and like whenever we met, I gave you that whole list of PowerPoints that I do.
Yes.
I do a job club every single Thursday and we have a different topic every day. So anything you can think of, I've probably already got it.
Yeah. I might have to get more information on the job club. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're ever in the area again, we'd love to have you kind of stop by at our job club and talk about, exactly what you guys do, because I'm sure that I have several veterans that would also benefit from being in a group like this.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to. I would be honored. Yeah, we can definitely set that up.
Absolutely.
Networking in effect. Perfect. I love it.
Living the example, huh?
Yeah,
exactly. Paul, I saw you come on. You got anything from your perspective? I know you're working out there still in the local municipalities, right?
I am, yes. And I just moved from one municipality to another county. And I definitely have to say that networking and LinkedIn is massive in this field, especially when you're trying to look to either lateral move to, say, a county or a city that's closer to you, or promote within the same type of field. Knowing people, whether it's again, kind of moving away from the federal side and moving more towards the local state side, just having those other elected officials kind of not in your back pocket, but they know you, they know your work ethic, and they're networked with you on LinkedIn. Those are key into getting your foot into the door for those promotions, moving up. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I moved from a budget director to a CFO within 2 years within the local government. So having those network connections and actually reaching out and building your page properly and interacting with those folks within your page is invaluable.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. And it's good to get that perspective from, someone who's taken a little bit different than the traditional path. For so many of us defense financial managers, it's, either go GS and you're back in the Don or the DoD, or it's go contractor and you're back in the same space. So, it's good to hear the experience and the skills and the tools, they transcend those other sectors. So that's good. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. Well, everybody be on the lookout for the follow-up post. Abigail will get this stuff downloaded, sent over to Brendan for editing and cleanup and ready to post. And so the video will be out on YouTube. The link will be out on LinkedIn. So again, we want to reach as many as possible. I'm glad that we had this crowd on tonight, and thanks everyone who joined. But let's not stop there. Let's try to get this information out to as many as possible. We hope to see everybody again next month. Abigail, what's our topic next month?
Military One Source.
Oh, good. Okay.
So we do have a speaker for that, and I'm waiting for additional details, but it is scheduled. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, yeah, thanks again, everyone. And thank you specifically, Ashley, for your time. And, be on the lookout for more information and share the information, and hope to see you next month.